This program contains graphic material, including offensive language. Viewer discretion is advised.
I got something real heavy to lay on you, man.
Now that's what I need.
Please feel free to join us in the smoking section because we with all the smoke.
For God's sake, strap yourselves down!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into a very special edition of the Sports Arena. I'm your man, Eric Wilson. And normally when you see me come on this screen, y'all already know I'm in a pretty jovial, upbeat, entertaining mood. However, tonight's conversation is not that. I did put the disclaimer out there, and I will do it again for those who may have missed it. This conversation is kind of a NSFW, not safe for work conversation, because we don't get into the whole Miami Dolphins Tua Tagovailoa conversation based on what we've seen happen last night at the Thursday night matchup, and then also what happened last Sunday when he played the Buffalo Bills. There's a lot to dissect. There are a lot of layers that we're going to peel back. But I'm going to get the gentleman that I have asked to be a part of this tonight, and I'm sure I'll have more chiming in here soon. But let me start off by bringing, of course, as always, my co-host, Ray Lynn, sports reporter without pay, is in the building, sir. Good evening to you. Thank you so much for being a part of this. This is one of those conversations that I always appreciate that you jump on because you provide such a profound perspective on things. And sometimes you even get me to calm down, which, as we know, is sometimes a hard thing to do. But thank you for being a part of this. Let me go ahead and get our man, say it again, zone. Chuck is in the building. And I always call Chuck the most level-headed man in the building, although I don't know how he's feeling tonight, but we're going to get to him in just a moment. This man, I've asked him to be a part of this because I haven't talked to him in a while, but hope he's doing well, as I know he is. He is Dr. Jarrell Heslip, Jarrell Heslip, sports consultant. My brother, good evening to you. And really quick, shameless plug, I'm going to need to purchase one of them shirts because I see you doing your thing, man. Let me just say that to you really quick. I see you doing your thing. Of course, our man, John Shear, who just finished up with me on the Gauntlet podcast. As you see, he's going to be joining us, Blue Hawks 13. But gentlemen, let's dive into this. Sunday, Tua going up against Buffalo. He got hit. His head hit the turf. He was taken to the back. He was medically cleared to come back out and play and wound up beating the Buffalo Bills, making the Miami Dolphins 3-0. And then last night suffered just another hit that I don't think was egregious. I don't think was out of bounds. But the way his body, and more importantly, his head, for the second time in 5 days, hit the ground, he had to be carted off. Now, as the reports that we have seen all day today on, TV and social media, he was rushed to the hospital. As we are told, there is no neurological damage. He did fly home with the team, and he is resting home comfortably. Thank God for small favors. But I do believe he is wearing a neck brace. What on God's green earth is going on with the Miami Dolphins? Somebody, please tell me something, because I to say I'm irate is an understatement with how this young man's career could be over before it even gets started, and how the Shield is trying to protect themselves and not him. Ray, we can't hear you, sir. I apologize. You're muted. All right. Chuck, let me talk to you, man.
Yeah, I think it got to a point where you put winning before the well-being of your quarterback. I'm a huge Miami Dolphins fan through the ups, downs, struggles. I ride with him, gonna always ride with him. So, me as a fan also was very excited about what this season was gonna look like. I will say last week, and I hear a lot of people say you don't necessarily have to be in the medical profession to understand what you see with your eyes. And anytime a man gets up from his head hitting the ground and he's wobbly, he's not able to walk on his own strength for whatever amount of time, whether it be 2 seconds, 5 minutes, an hour, whatever. That's serious enough to where he should not have continued to play that game. The second hit, anybody that knows or has played sports that have hit their head, I think the second one was worse than the first one for the simple fact. The first one, if you looked at it when he hit his head, it bounced off the ground. The second one, his head didn't move. It hit the ground and kind of it was like it stuck to the ground. That's way worse than your head actually bouncing off of the ground, because that means I don't know how to exactly word it, but that means when your head hit contact with the ground, there was no
there was no give.
Yeah,
I mean, it looked like he got planted.
Right,
okay,
right.
And it was just one of those things, Chuck, where everybody, I'm sure, had a gasp for air, whether you are a fan of the Dolphins or not. It was one of those things where there was a gasp, and it was like, wait, what? And I can't even watch that video, man.
Yeah, and my main issue was, what really scared me was, I knew it was serious, but when I saw his fingers and the way they looked like they were dislocated, and where you can tell the neurological damage had then kind of set in, that's when I really was like, wow. And to me, their excuse made it worse. You're saying it was a back injury, and it wasn't necessarily a concussion issue, but that's still a reason for him to sit out. If it's a back issue, that's still a major issue with paralysis on the line. That also can cause you to be wobbly. It also can come from your spinal to your head all the way down to your feet. So you're still making up an excuse that makes the issue worse, because if it's a serious back injury, he still should not have continued to play in that game regardless, or possibly the next week. So I think they were trying to come up with excuses. They made it worse. I will say this about the coach. I watched his interview. I honestly think he worded his interview wrong, because I don't think his intentions were bad. I think he does care, in my opinion. I think he does care, but I think the way he worded everything was totally wrong. When he made the statement, he was like, well, I'm glad it was nothing, as I think he said, as serious, nothing more serious than concussion issue. If I'm not mistaken, that was his words. I don't think he meant it that way. I think that's the way it came out. So I think he kind of, and during that interview, you can tell, to me, he looked nervous. He looked kind of like he was trying to figure out what to say as the questions were coming. So I guess I kind of feel bad for him somewhat, because I feel like he does care, but I think he handled his interview wrong, in my opinion. So I will say that. But everybody deserves blame from me. Organization.
Thank you.
Coaches,
Thank you.
Organization, coaches, doctors. And as much as I don't want to say it, Tua as well. But I think
Tua and the players.
But I'm blaming Tua, because he was actually doing it in his mind for the right reasons. I'm one of the people that's been criticizing him for years. So now that you're playing well, your team is rolling, you got weapons at your disposal, everything is going great. You don't want that to end. You want to shut up the critics. You want to keep winning. You want to play. You're 3-0. You're trying to stay that way. So I think he was actually wanting to play. Any competitor wants to continue to play. So I'm going to just end it in my part by saying I blame everybody from top to bottom, including him.
Fine. Let me go ahead and get John in here. And also we got our man from the Gauntlet, John, joining us as well. But Ray, talk to me, man, because like I said, I got a lot to say, but I'm going to let everybody else get their points off, man. Not here tonight.
This man put on his Tua jersey.
I wish I would have went last, because I think I'm gonna be in the minority, I believe, and I'll start here. When I saw the play against Buffalo, right, I thought it was a concussion, like flat, like the way he wobbled when he was trying to walk, like he stood up, like it's like in a boxing match. Like at that point, you don't see somebody get knocked out and the ref tell them, come here, and they can't move, and the ref just grab him and say, no, you good, you done, right? So they take him to the thing in his concussion protocol, and I think there's no way. And next thing you know, you see the Willis Reed moment, right? Here he come chugging on back out there, right? And he plays. My thing is, right, we all doing the Monday morning, what they call it, Monday morning quarterback, or when
Monday morning armchair quarterback.
Yeah, we doing that thing where it's like we're all being reactive to the situation, right? And I say that because if we all felt that strongly about it, right? You didn't hear anybody in an uproar when the game started, right? Nobody was on Facebook. Nobody was doing live videos. No ESPN. Nobody was going, why is Tua playing in this game? Nobody was tripping, right? But then he gets hurt, and it's like, he shouldn't have been out there in the first place, which I
think he lost signal.
Oh, did we lose? Okay, we'll get Ray back here in a minute. Jarrell, go ahead, man. Talk to me.
Hey, man, I got a lot to unpack if y'all don't mind, man.
Go ahead, brother.
Hey, man, so I'm glad my man Ray brought that up because Joy Taylor actually said the same thing. No one said anything when Tua came back Thursday night. And that was the first thing I was looking at. I was actually having a date night with the wifey. She had me watching a Jeffrey Dahmer thing, had the phone on the other side. And the first thing I thought about when Tua hit was like, why is he playing? That is the stupidest thing. Why is he still playing? So let's unpack a little. It's some key points. That Sunday night game against the Bills, the team went and revised the statement of his injury from a head injury to a back injury, kind of downplaying what was going on. That was definitely a concussion. Anybody that's played football from Pee Wee to high school to college, you know what a concussion looks like from an imbalance, equilibrium state, and not locking up and falling over from like a back injury. So you know the difference. And then on top of that, we can't be just a fool and don't think about teams downplaying situations based on what's going on as far as having to win, being a first-time coach, all the drama that happened last year, and want to start on a good note because there's a difference from 2-1 to 3-0 start in the beginning of the season and how that plays out in the end of the season where you are. So let's not be obnoxious to the fact of what professionals do to make sure that they're stable in their jobs, making money, and you know your presence of where you are as far as your standings. So that's the first thing. Then we see him on Thursday night. Mind you, Tua is, they say he's 6'1", 215. I'm saying 5'11", 200. And he got slang around like a rag doll. The big thing is that, yes, we didn't say, a lot of people didn't, nobody said nothing about him coming back to the game. I was definitely one of those that was like, what the hell is going on? But the fact that he got re-injured is the major issue. It was ill played. It was failure of leadership from top to bottom, like Chuck said, from management, from your doctor staff, your physician staff, your coaches, GM, everyone. I can't blame Tua, though. Tua is a gladiator. He's going to step up and want to play for his team. And he's a young player. But where is your leadership from your veteran players, from your coaches, from your GM that's going to put his future in hand? Look, Tua, I know, you all right. You say you good. We're going to sit you out because we're going to worry about our future this season and beyond. So those are some big things. Now, another thing, the biggest thing to me is the failure of leadership. I think Chuck talked about it. Ethics versus winning. We talk about all this stuff, CTE, decreasing CTE, stuff with athletes, being better leadership and not fumbling the ball with the NFL and NFLPA. Now you jeopardize a lot of things. You jeopardize a future lawsuit, which i.e., what's my man, Teron Taylor? He just filed a lawsuit with the charges for what they did. Your franchise quarterback. There's a lot going on to unpack, but leadership dropped the ball heavy by bringing him back in. And I just got a list for y'all: Hassan Abdullah, Luke Kuechly, Rob Gronkowski, Andrew Luck, Chris Borland, Anthony Davis. Those just a couple of players that are retired early from CTE problems, concussion problems. When I saw this hit, the first thing I thought about was Luke Kuechly back in Carolina in 2016. I don't see, if he keeps getting hit like this with him being so small, how long he can last in the NFL. I mean, there's a lot to say about this, and I can go on a lot deeper, but I don't want to take up too much time. But that's the major problem with me is leadership, of not taking ownership of saying, hey, you need to sit down and let's evaluate the long-term goal here and not worry about wins or, money or whatever the case is.
So, Jarrell,
All right.
do you know who the
Hold on, John. Before I let you go, I want to get Ray back in here to finish his point, and then I'll let you. We'll let you go. Go ahead, Ray. Finish your point, man.
I'm not gonna say it's hard to finish my point, but then
Shout
now,
out to Ray for leaving that wedding reception and coming on the show.
I actually left awake. Neither here nor there, right? So it's hard to then now hear more information and then not just pick up where I left off. Because when Jarrell says we're gonna blame everybody, but the one person who has the fight, if he say I don't want to go out and play, guess what? He ain't got to go out and play. I'm not up to it.
He's never going to say that.
I'm not saying he is or he isn't. I'm simply saying because athletes have this heart of a champion. Athletes have this thing where it's like, yes, I can do it. And like you said, a lot of times trainers, other players, coaches have to save them from themselves. But at the same time, we cannot pin all this blame on everybody else but the guy who actually went out there and played. That's absurd to me to say Tua has no blame in none of this to say, oh, he went out there and somebody should have saved him from himself. Well, sometimes you got to save yourself from yourself, right? You can't just go, oh, he's young and he don't know no better. Everything we saying about CTE, he's very well aware of. He went out there and played. And I'm not going to say why, it's a direct correlation.
Trying to rewrite his legacy.
You know what's real? Here's the crazy thing about that. Somebody, I think Chuck was saying this. He was saying they're 3-0. He got weapons at his disposal. They winning. You want to keep it going. Do you know if they was 0-3 and playing horrible, he'd wanted to play to fix it. That's just athletes, right? That's just what they want to do. You would rather be playing. Look what Tua endured in his last couple of years. It's ironic that Ryan Fitzpatrick was the guy calling the game, right? Because we saw the whole saga with, oh, we're going to go with Fitzpatrick instead of him. Oh, now we're going to go back with him. So this kid has endured a lot, and he wants to prove himself. No matter how good or bad they was playing, athletes want to be out there on that field. So I'm not going to put blame on everybody else and say everybody's at blame but him, the one guy who laced up and went out there. To me, that's crazy. In regards to the situation as a whole, right? And I said we're doing the Monday morning armchair quarterback type thing. You know what's really wild to me? And now this is going to start to sound like I don't think it was an issue. First off, I already said I think he was concussed against Buffalo. I don't think he should have played. But once he played, I made a comment on Facebook. I told somebody, had he threw for 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, and they won, and he walked off that field, we wouldn't be talking about it. Right? But because he got hurt again, we're being reacted to the situation, right? E, do you remember we did a show last week and we did our peak performer?
Yes.
Do you remember who your peak performer was last week? Because I do.
Justin Herbert.
Justin Herbert, a guy who lost the game. Why was he your peak performer, E?
Because he went out there like a champion.
He gutted it out like a champion.
Yes.
Broke this smoke section, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Broke his fucking ribs, and he went out there, right? And we praised him for it. We as fans, you can unmute yourself, bro. We in the smoke section. Jarrell, you muted because I see your lips moving, but I don't hear you.
Okay, bet. Now tell me this. Army, athlete, what do you do in the locker room if you say, I'm not going to play? You remember a lot of players that say, look, I'm hurt. We talk about Simmons and with the Brooklyn and Philly all the time. I'm not playing because I'm not hurt. I'm hurt. What does your team do? Your team goes out and look at you how? He's playing because he's a gladiator, like you said. But who's going to stop him from himself? It's a big difference from a concussion than a rib injury, brother.
Don't do the it's a big difference thing. Hurt is hurt, right? I understand.
Thanks for bringing up the opposite end of the spectrum, Ben Simmons.
I understand the ramifications of said injuries are way different, right? We talking CTE. What I'm simply saying is, and I don't know why you brought up Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons stopped playing because his feelings.
Ben Simmons will be out for 3 months with a hangnail.
Like that's why everybody's looking at Ben. Nobody even knows what's wrong with Ben Simmons. Why he didn't play all last year. Nobody knows, right?
It's the Carson Wentz effect.
Not necessarily Ben Simmons, but what happens?
You're right.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, right? So again, right? We as fans kind of don't know what we want. I made a Facebook post and I said this. I said, as a whole, generalized, nobody has to argue with me and say, I've never said that. Maybe not you. But generally, the take on today's NFL game in comparison to yesteryear is this era is soft. Correct? Is that correct or is that inaccurate?
That has been said.
100%.
Yes.
Right? That's what they say. This era is soft, right?
Yes.
And one of the main reasons they say it's soft is because the rules that are in place that don't allow you to touch offensive players. Receiver coming across the middle, we used to that old school Brian Dawkins like that. I'm a get him, right? When he come across the middle. Now you do that, or it's a defenseless receiver, right? Quarterback, you can't touch him or it's a penalty on you, right? They done made quarterbacks flag football, and every fans of old school football hate it. You know, another part that people talk about, the whole concussion protocol. You touch a guy, he out for 3 weeks. Man, back in the day, those guys on the sideline sniffing, smelling sauce, they came right back in the game. That's the kind of stuff we say. So now you got a player that looked concussed. He gutted out, came back out. The same. Justin Herbert clearly had problems with his ribs. Finished the game, and we all praised him for it. He came right back out the next game. Had Justin Herbert got hit, and then it came, and you saw blood through the jersey and it broke out, like he'd have never been out there. But because he finished the game and played well, we don't care. Tua was fine until he wasn't fine. When we was watching the game, nobody was watching that game going, Tua don't look right. Nobody said that. He just happened to get hit. Do I think there was a problem in the Buffalo game? Absolutely. But I also think that we as fans and media are overreacting because of what happened, right? If he didn't get hurt, like if he'd have finished that game, we would not be having this conversation. That's clear as day because we wasn't having it before the game. We should have been having this talk after the Buffalo game, right?
It's harder to tell.
Dom, hold on a second. Dom, hold on. I want to answer this comment, and then I want to make sure I get John, and Jarrell and Ray can get back to it. But Dom, I want to hear from you, and I want to hear from John. But I want to answer this comment really quick that we got here. Earlier this week, the NFLPA said that there was every indication the team properly followed concussion protocol, and there was no head injury. Let me just say this and be very clear when I say this, and gentlemen, please excuse me for a minute. You have to be out of your damn mother mind to think that there was no head injury after that Bills game. I don't know what game you were watching, but that man lied to bring his ass back on the field to beat Buffalo because of the situation he was in. So don't sit here and try and tell me there was no head injury after the Bills game. Let your head, no, John, no. Let your head get bounced off the turf like that and then come try and tell me that was not a concussion. That was not a head injury. That, in fact, was that. Now, you can chalk it up. You can put some deodorant on it. You can make it smell good. But I'm telling you right now, whatever they said was a bold-faced damn lie. It was a concussion. Let me just go ahead and get that out the way. Go ahead, John.
John, real quick, John, I'm sorry. Real quick before you go, because I'm probably not going to say nothing too much more until it's my turn again. I just want to address what Rail said about him not having blame. I'm going to make it bigger than football. I get what you're saying about him, wanting to compete. He's not wrong for wanting to compete. He's not wrong for, wanting to get back out there and play for his team. He's not wrong for none of that. But in life, when you make a decision, the consequences or the whatever it is after that is you made that decision. You have to receive blame. There is no I don't. You have to.
That easy.
Because at the end of the day, yeah, people could have stopped you from making the wrong decision. Yeah, people could have stepped in the way and said, "No, I don't do this." But you still made a conscious decision, and you have to live with that. You receive the consequences for the decision you made. So that's just life. If I go out there and do something I ain't got no business, my wife could have stopped me. Yeah, my mama could have said, you need to chill out. Yeah, y'all could have came to me like, little bro, look, you don't need to do this. But I still made a decision to do it. So I received the consequences for what I decided to do. I may have had the right intentions, good intentions. I may have did it for the right reasons. Maybe I wanted to accomplish something. But the consequences are mine to have because I made a decision. I have to take blame. Period.
I totally agree with you, Chuck.
It's not that easy.
But there's a difference in profession and what you do for your job. We can do things and we can't do things at our job that they can do in professional, right? You can get away with a lot more in professional sports and do some things that you can't do at your regular 9 to 5, right? That's the case here. He went out and played for his team because of the camaraderie and what he's building what he's building with his squad. It should have been somebody there to hold him back from himself. I definitely agree with you, though. It's a difference in profession, in my opinion, though. And then my question for you, Ray, if he didn't get hurt, right? He got hurt. If he didn't catch that first concussion on last Sunday and got one on Thursday night, would the reaction to his brain been the same? No, it wouldn't have.
No.
The reaction of his hands doing the gang signs is from having 2 concussions back to back without the proper recovery time.
So let me quick question. Me, Eric, and John all do the Sports Arena on Monday. Chuck does say what again, say it again on Tuesdays. Dom, I don't know if he does a show between Monday and Thursday. I know he's on the Gauntlet Saturday. And Dre, I don't know if you have a show going on and on, but we all on social media. Can anybody on this video right now tell me that after the game you was going crazy saying they shouldn't have put Tua back in? I'll wait. Anybody else? Right? So again, to my point, even coming into Thursday's game, because he finished Sunday's game, so everybody's like, oh, like it that fast. We as fans go, oh, maybe it wasn't as bad as we thought. And he finished the game and they won, and it was Tua's a hero, right? How else would he not go about? You know what's crazy? I knew he wasn't right. I picked Cincinnati in my football polls because I didn't think Tua was right. I'm simply saying that we as fans all watched it happen, right? And nobody cared. After the game, there wasn't, like, we did a sports show on Monday. It wasn't even a topic of discussion. We was talking about Miami and beating Buffalo and the fact that Miami only had the ball for 19 minutes and did it. Not once did we talk about maybe Tua shouldn't have been back on the field. Maybe he shouldn't play Thursday. Nobody talked about it on sports. It happened for like a half a day where they was like, Miami might be getting investigated. Maybe they didn't follow all the protocol. Then everybody let it go. And because he got hurt, now everybody wants to go, oh my God, the organization. Let me explain something to y'all about rich people, right? They sit back and they're like, the owner's job is to make money. His job is to put a winning product on the field. I hate to break it to y'all. He cares nothing about Tua as a person. That's just reality. That don't make it right. It don't make it wrong. It's just the reality. It's just a reality.
Ray, can I
less than nothing?
Quick? Let me just interject really quick because you said something that I think needs to get addressed. And John, I apologize, and Dom, I apologize. But let me get to that point right there. You said the owner's job is to put on a winning product.
Absolutely.
Okay. So then explain to me how Stephen Ross basically is paying his coaches to lose games in the tank.
Well, that's a whole
no. That's a part of the conversation because you brought up the winning product.
Yeah.
Miami hasn't had a winning product.
To be.
Yeah.
Stephen Ross is a terrible example of
I don't care who the
owner
owner is. The fact of the matter is, you can't talk winning product and talk Miami Dolphins in the same sentence. Not prior to this year, you can.
Look what Miami did, though, right? Look what Miami did in the offseason. They went and got who some would believe is the best, if not top 5 receiver in the game, right? They looked at Tua. They said, we got Waddell. We're gonna go get him weapons. They went and got Mostert from Raheem Mostert, however you say his name, from San Francisco. Like, they got a stable of running backs over there in Miami. They went and got Tua all the weapons necessary to say this is gonna make it or break it. They went all in on winning this year. Like, there's no way to not look at that organization saying
they assembled that roster expecting Tua to fail so they could get Tom Brady.
How could they expect that when everybody saw how they finished last year? They started 1-7, and then they're 11 for their last 12. They were looking at how they finished last year. Shout out to John. Look, he eating this part up, right? They finished last year on such a run that they went, what if we add something to this? So that's what they did. While everybody was talking about what the Chargers did in the offseason, Miami made just as many moves to improve their roster. They came into this year thinking, we can really win. And nothing that's happened so far in the season has made that not true. They beat Baltimore. They beat Lamar Jackson. They beat Buffalo. They beat Josh Allen. And every indication showed they could have won that game if Tua doesn't get hurt. So they came into this season really trying to win. I'm simply saying that as an owner and a GM, they don't know these guys. I don't know why people put it like this. What do you think is the most dangerous job? You ever ride past and see those guys on the skyscrapers on the windows out there cleaning windows on a 84th floor? You go, ain't no way in hell I'll do that, right?
Right. Roofer is the most dangerous job.
Who?
I thought air traffic controller.
They finished the year on such a run that the owner got caught tampering, tried to get Tom Brady.
Yeah, right. Okay, outstanding, right? Like, if Tom Brady's available, you get Tom Brady, right? That's not a sin to go after who some think is the GOAT, and Ray don't. I'm simply saying you take a dangerous job that you go, I wouldn't do. You know who else wouldn't do that job of those guys out there cleaning those windows? The guy who's signing a check. He signed the checks, not for him to go out there and do it, right? If I'm an owner, I ain't talking about Ray Lynn. I'm talking about these rich guys who own football teams. I pay Tua to play. He okay? Let him go play. He okay, right? Let him go play. I'm not finna go down there and like we expecting things from people that just history hasn't shown us as a reality. I'm not saying
Blank
did it. Wrong.
Arthur Blank did it. Did he not? Arthur Blank was there wheeling Michael Vick out onto the field. Right. Did he not do that?
Hey, we have reality and we have anomalies, right? Like if you go running quarterbacks, right? Running quarterbacks. How many of them really had success? Steve Young, right? So if somebody goes, you can't win with a mobile quarterback as your guy, a guy who's feet first. You can't win like that. And you go, Steve Young did it. That's an anomaly. Every other one hasn't done it. Not Mike Vick, not Cam Newton, not Lamar Jackson. Like you can go down the list. It's an anomaly. Exactly. So when we have a situation that is the norm and you go, well, that happened. Well, that's an anomaly. The reality is most of these owners probably really don't care about these guys. I'm not saying to make it right. I'm saying we have to be realistic in our expectations. Why do the owners let them play?
Hey, Ray, we know it better than most. Drafting all those tight ends in the first round.
Listen, he's been quiet long enough, and I definitely want to get him, and I appreciate him chilling with us. But, John, man, I'm going to give you the floor, brother. Take it away.
That's cool. That's cool. I'm a Dolphins fan. I'll take my time, 30 minutes. I'll wait. There's a lot to say right here about this. I mean, you guys just – first of all, let me ask you guys a question. How do you feel about T. Higgins?
The receiver for Cincinnati?
Yeah, that's the only T. Higgins I know. How do you feel about it?
I'll just make sure you're talking about I don't feel
nothing. Yeah, I don't know any other T. Higgins.
Yeah, he's a baller.
Yeah, I mean, he all right in my book,
All right. So did anybody say anything about T. Higgins?
No.
Anybody say one word? Because he got a concussion against the Cowboys, and 7 days later he took a helmet-to-helmet hit against the Jets, and nobody said a word. Why haven't we heard anything about that?
Did he go through protocol and sit out?
He the same thing as Tua. He went through protocol against the Cowboys, cleared protocol just like Tua did. He didn't sit out, cleared protocol, and then he came back. And then next week against the Jets, 7 days later, he took a vicious helmet-to-helmet. If anybody saw it, it was absolutely brutal hit against the Jets. Hit him helmet-to-helmet, and then 5 days later or 4 days later, he's playing against the Dolphins. Like, you know what I mean? Like, nobody's talking about that. That's like, I mean, we're talking about Tua,
really want to answer?
Huh?
Is it rhetorical or you really want to answer?
Yeah, it's rhetorical. I'm just saying, like, the media is not really talking about something like that. Like, Tua's more of a,
he's a quarterback in the NFL. Let's be clear about that, John. Quarterback in the NFL is going to get more press coverage than a top wide receiver in the league.
I'm just saying, if we're going to talk concussions and, like, we actually care, then we should show that we actually care by – following up with other guys that are kind of sort of in the same boat. He just didn't get knocked out like Tua did. Do you guys know who the doctor is for the Chargers? You know who their doctor is? Same guy that punctured Tyrod Taylor's lung. He's still the same guy. So, like, I mean, we act like we care. The NFL acts like they care. But, if the same guy that punctured Tyrod Taylor's lungs is still the same exact guy that's on the Chargers, he's still there, Dom. Yes, he is. He's still the same guy in the same position.
No, I was saying no, like they don't care.
Yeah. Like, so, I mean, we pretend like we care, fans, but then like Ray said, we don't really care until we get to react and we get to get our opinion out and what we want to say out. Because I knew as soon as that happened, my first thought was, I mean, obviously I care about Tua, but my first thought was you're going to go on social media and everybody's going to be an expert. Everybody's going to be on there saying, I knew it. Like, he shouldn't have been in the game. But John, nobody said that.
Okay, John, let me be very clear about something. I'm not saying I'm an expert.
I'm not knocking you guys. I'm just saying
I know you're not. But for clarification purposes, let me get this out. I'm not saying I'm an expert. I never once, and Ray hit all the points in the head, never once on Sunday at halftime did I say he shouldn't come back in. Never once Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or even Thursday the night of the game did I ever say he shouldn't be playing. What I'm saying to you is someone in that organization needs to be fired. I don't care if that person is Tua Tagovailoa himself. Someone needs to be gone from that organization. Someone needs to be fired.
I wanted to touch on your point earlier before you muted me when you said Tua got up and the back thing. When he got up, he shook his head. Like he didn't hold his back. He went like this.
Yeah, he's getting the cobwebs out, John.
Yeah, he was getting the cobwebs out. So, like, if anybody argued that, well, it was a back, well, why is he shaking his head when he's getting up, like he's trying to wring out the cobwebs. You know what I mean? So that was my point. Whenever you were talking about that. So, and another thing I talked about on the gauntlet earlier tonight, Tua's partially to blame, and I've watched him his entire career. I mean, I'm not blaming him for a concussion, but when you watch him get hit, when you watch Tom Brady, what does Tom Brady do? Curls up into a ball. When you watch Aaron Rodgers, he turns to the side. These guys do that, and they avoid taking the big hits. Every time Tua gets a big hit, he doesn't protect himself. Like, he puts himself in this spot, and he doesn't protect himself.
Didn't?
And he's
RG3.
wide open to get slammed to the ground. And I'm not knocking Tua, but like, I see the Tom Brady's do the smart thing. When a guy's coming in and you're getting sacked, instead of just live to fight another day, don't get killed. And every time Brady's just like, yep, I'm going to go down. Like, it's fine. I'm not going to die today. But Tua's just like, yeah, let me keep the play alive. And he keeps getting hit and he keeps getting thrown, not because of his size and his weight. It's because you got to be able to brace yourself and protect yourself. And he's not doing that. And the guy in the comment section that said, well, the offensive line is the reason Tua got hit. No, watch that play. Tua had all the time in the world. Alec Ingold, the fullback, was 3 yards in front of him, wide open, nobody around him. He didn't want it. He wanted downfield. He wanted the big play. You could have taken 3 yards. Ingold would have had a first down easily because nobody was anywhere close. And Tua waited. Then he saw a guy coming, and he tried to get away, and the guy slung him down. Like, that wasn't the offensive line's fault. That was Tua's fault. He just wanted the big play.
You just made me think of something totally different.
He couldn't throw the ball away. So,
hey, John, I just like to say, when you started with T. Higgins, I thought you was going to mention the fact that he scorched y'all on Thursday night. That's why I thought you was going with that, because he absolutely scorched y'all on Thursday.
Hey, Ray, chill out, man.
I'm sorry. I thought that's where he was going with it.
No, we're talking concussions, and he got one, and then he got the helmet to helmet, and nobody talked about it.
That's a good point, though. But what if he did get hurt and got a major hit, though? We're just not talking about him because he's not a focal point. The thing is he got a major hit in the same spot. And we saw the reaction of it. I mean, if he would have got hit in the right spot, we would be talking about it.
If he would have gotten hurt, we would have all said we knew better. Yeah.
It's still an issue for the NFL, NFLPA, and leadership. So we're just not talking.
We're gonna get to that, Jarrell, in just a minute, because I got a question for everybody. But Dom, go ahead, man.
So really, and John brought something up that I didn't realize. So it's actually more on Tua than I thought, because when he took that hit, he was looking downfield. And when does Tua do that? That's one. For two, I know of no other, since we were talking about Stephen Ross and Tua, I know of no other owner in NFL history that cares that much about their quarterback other than Kraft and Tom Brady. And it's just a whole conglomeration of things because, of course, being undefeated and Tua playing over his head. What's your coach's name?
Mike McDaniel.
Refresh my memory, John.
Mike McDaniel.
Coaching over his head. Of course, they're going to try to keep that rolling. And I don't know. I waited so long to talk, I forgot what I was going to say.
All right. So then let me ask this question really quick. And Dom, I'll start with you. So then ultimately, who shoulders the most accountability for what happened on Thursday night? That's what I want to know. In y'all's opinion, who shoulders the most responsibility for what happened? And Dom, you can go first.
It's Tua, because we talked about this on the Sports Arena. Like, whatever they've expanded the concussion protocol to, when you go in that tent, unless you can't stand up or you don't know what your name is or don't know where you are. I mean, you said it earlier about it's 6 questions, right? They're not.
It's a 6-step process. Yes.
Right. It's not like it used to be one question. Like I said, you can still write the concussion protocol on your arm. And unless you're woozy and can't stand up, you're going back in the game. And I don't fault Tua for doing that. But ultimately, it rests with him because at the end of the day, the player is making the call.
All right.
And of course, when you're undefeated and playing great, You're going to go back out there if you can stand up. He stood up and he went back out there.
All right, Jarrell. Who
That's a hard
shoulders
one.
the most accountability?
That's a hard one, but it would be between two people for me, in my opinion. Who answers the most and talks the most about the Dallas Cowboys situation? It ain't even the head coach. It's who? Jerry Jones. Your GM and your head coach would have the most responsibility because they have the final call of who they're going to play and who they want to play to make the most difference and impact on the game. So it wouldn't be in Tua's hand to me. They can say, Tua, you're sitting this one out, man. We need you. We're going to save you from yourself. It will be my GM or my head coach.
All right, Chuck.
I have to say the head coach, for the simple fact that, when we talk about Tua's blinded by what he wants. He's blinded by what he desires. Sometimes that causes you not to think straight, think the way you're supposed to think. We hear them say how, you can fool the, I heard players say this. So I don't think that's something we can debate. Players know kind of better than we do how you can fool the doctors, or even if the doctors have some suspicion, if you pass it, you pass it. And I mean, that's what they've been talking about all day. The reason I say the head coach is because you physically see what happened. You've seen the symptoms after, the first hit, second hit, whatever. You are pretty much the direct supervisor to your players. There's not necessarily a manager, a GM always down there. There's not necessarily, doctors not always just right there. You are the person that has to say so at that moment, right then, right there. No. So the reason I say the head coach is because despite what the doctor said, despite what the GM may have said later on, or, despite what Tua said, you have to say so. And to me, in that moment, right then, right there, you are the one person who can right then say, no, you're not playing. So that's the reason I give it the most to the head coach, because I believe he could have been the person right then to say to anybody, whoever, doctors, whoever, no, you're not playing. We're gonna just go on without you. So I'm just gonna give it to the head coach, in my opinion.
John?
And you're asking, forgive me.
Who shoulders the most accountability for what happened?
For what happened, the whole situation. I think it has to be whoever cleared him. Like, I don't know exactly who's clearing him. I don't know exactly how, like, which doctors play the biggest parts or how many doctors play it. But the doctors in general that are clearing him to play, the doctors that clear him throughout the week, not that cleared him to return in the middle of a game on Sunday against the Bills, because that happens. Like, we've seen that a million times. The people that are clearing him during the week, people that are saying, hey, you played on Sunday, you had a concussion, and 4 days later, or you can play football. Like, they should have that should have been right then and there a no-go, as they were talking about with the NFLPA. That's what they call it, a no-go, where if you get a concussion like that, it's a no-go. You're not allowed to play. Right away, the doctor should have been like, no, you had a concussion Sunday, you're playing 4 days later. Automatically should just be, you can't play Thursday. So I think that's the one, whoever cleared him from sometime between Sunday and Thursday, that falls on them.
Okay. So I'm going to let Ray go last. But again, I'm asking this question. Who shoulders the most accountability for what happened? I'm going to tell you right now. I put the blame on the other players, the other 52 guys on that league. And here's why I say that. A lot of times, because Jarrell, you brought it up, and we talk about this, a lot of times as athletes, as boys, as warriors, as champions, whatever you want to call, whatever name you want to throw at us right now, when we get in our own way, a lot of times we need somebody to kind of just tap us on the shoulder and say, bro, let me holler at you for a minute, and have that real conversation with you. Okay? Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki, Raheem Mostert, I don't care who it is. One of them guys between Sunday and Thursday should have reached out to him to check on him, because he ain't going to listen to his family. He might be stubborn. We don't know. The coaches, the doctors, the trainers, the medical staff, whatever. He going to be like, no, I'm good, because you gotta save face. You want to make sure that you don't lose your spot. You got to earn your money. But them locker room, them real conversations, them conversations we all have when we turn off these cameras and we're not live and we just talk to people and we real with one another. That's who I think shoulders the most accountability. One of them fellas should have walked over to him, reached out to him, called him, went to his house, done whatever, and said, "Bruh, look here. Your life is way too valuable for you to be going out there. You know you got your money. Man, take a week or two off. Let us do what we do until you are fully capable of coming back, because we got something special going on."
Real quick, you know why I'm gonna have to disagree with you, in my opinion.
Sure.
The reason I'm gonna have to disagree with you is
money.
Because, right. And then to me, with the players, the players are the least responsible. Because he don't have to listen to them. They can say what they want to say, but he still don't have to listen. Your coach tell you what, you have no choice in the matter. So in my opinion, if the players come to him and say, "Yeah, man, you don't need to do this," he still can say, "Man, okay, I get what y'all saying, but I'm gonna play." If the coach goes to him and say it, he has no option. So that's the reason I get what you're saying. I get exactly what you're saying, but that's why I disagree, because I feel like the coach has to say so to leave you with no option. Whatever he say, go, period. The players can come to you and say whatever they want to say and be like, "Yeah, man, you need to chill out without." And two of them might be like, "I feel y'all, but man, I need to be out there with y'all. I need to play, blah, blah, blah." And he's gonna play because they don't have no say so. The coach does. So that's kind of how I look at that. I get exactly what you're saying, though.
That's fair. Ray?
I'm gonna give the most Mike Carrottenuto response ever in his absence, right? And I'll say, let's look at this through a few different lenses, right? So for the people that say Tua, and I would totally agree, right? Because full transparency, like my son, ADHD. You know what I figured out? When your kids get diagnosed, you don't want to do the diagnosis, because you take them to the doctor and they give you a questionnaire. However you answer those questions is how they dictate their diagnosis, right? So if your kid jumping off the walls and doing all this crazy stuff, but you get there and go, "I don't want them to say that about my kid," and they ask the likelihood that he does this, and in reality it's 2, but you put 5, and in reality it's 5, but you put 2, you just diagnosed your kid, right? Same thing when they go in that concussion protocol. When they go in there and they go, "Can you do this?" Like whatever them 6 questions is. But we know how athletes are. Y'all all seen the boxing movies when they eyes are swollen shut. They go, "How many fingers I got up?" And the trainer behind them tapping his shoulder. Right? We've all seen this, right? Like this is what athletes do, right? So that's the part about it. Ultimately, right? If you want to say accountability is Tua, right? Then when you talk about the coach, you go, okay, like let's really look at who this kid is. And I said kid. Mike McDaniel is 38 years old. He's 38. He's supposed 39. To be a leader. 39, supposed to be a leader of men in this locker room, right? First time coach. Like, I think that's a very tough spot that he was put in. Again, to the heavy is the head that wears the crown. Like, you are the head coach, you have to make that call. But I think that was probably a very tough call for him to make when you're a first-time head coach, right? And we all know it's a players' league. You start having beef with your starting quarterback, he want to play and you told him no. Oh, that's problematic, right? So I don't know what he was to do in that situation. As far as the players, they want to win just as bad. And again, man, overall athletes just, that's how they operate, man. Think about how many, I mean, they're movies, but this stuff be for real, man. Think about some of the things y'all have seen in movies. Shout out to the future doctor, or if he has already accomplished that. I know Dr. Jarrell Heslop, right? Like athletes, man, are kind of crazy. Like, they'll do anything to play. They'll take steroid shots directly in their knees before a game, right? They'll get injections in their back right before a game just to be able to go out and play with limited pain. Not no pain, limited pain. We see them on the side, right? Like, they want to be on that field of play.
Think about Calvin Johnson, what he did before and after every single game.
You get what I'm saying? So
as of 2016, here's the 6 questions, which is proof you can write it on. Well, you can probably write it on your arm. At which field are we? Which quarter is it? How far into the quarter is it? Which side scored last? Which team did we play last week? Did we win last week? You can answer none of those questions right. If you're like, I want to go back out there and play, they're going to let you.
Real quick, Greg, there's a thing in the called gross motor stability. If a player is or fell down, off balance, he wasn't supposed to come back.
No, so let's backtrack to Ray's first statement. I 100% believe that he had a concussion in that Buffalo game. As I was watching, when he stood up and he got wobbly like you see boxers do, I was like, oh, he ain't coming back. When he came back, I was like, I'm thinking what the players have to think, oh, maybe he just got his bell rung and he good now, right? Like we all thought it because again, none of us came and was tripping.
But Ray, he sat out the rest of the first half and he came back at the start of the second half. So it wasn't like he came back the next play. I want to make sure that that's clear.
Right, but over time, however it happened, right? So now, ultimately, my real answer, that was me just looking at a few different ways you could see it. Who do I think holds real accountability, right? The reality is nobody, man. It's a violent sport and this kind of stuff happens. That's the reality none of us really, really want to look at. Like when you look at Muhammad Ali and you go, man, who's responsible? Nobody. He took part in a violent sport to make that's what he did for his family to eat. He took part in the most violent sport, a sport where two people get in the ring and try and knock each other's head off for money, right? Football is a violent sport. Sometimes it could be just the most violent hit. Sometimes it could be just something that was happenstance. But you play a violent game. Again, when things go well, we'll overlook this stuff. The reality is Justin Herbert should not have played the rest of that game. Did y'all see when he went to go run for that first down and he pulled up? He was like, oh, he done. And then he threw a strike and we forgot about it. The very next play, he threw a strike and we forgot. He didn't look great last game. I think he's still hurt, right? But because it's CTE and that's kind of a hot topic, we're going to run with it.
Rib injury versus head injury.
Again, I know because of CTE is such a hot topic. Will Smith got a movie about it, and they did lawsuits like it's a hot topic, and people retiring. So it's like, oh, bruh, it ain't new. It's been happening forever. Now they just shining a light on it. The reality is, it is a violent sport. Think about this: if that many people come out with cases of CTE, how many of them y'all think we don't know about? Right? Remember,
none for sure until they're dead.
That's what I'm saying. Remember my analogy about the boxers. How many fingers I got up? 5, right? Because athletes are going to do what they can to diagnose themselves. The doctor only knows what you tell them, especially if those are the questions. Bro, even if I'm concussed, I might can answer those. So
right.
I think it's just a sad reality we have to face. Tua was a very sad situation. And again, if Tua would have just got hit and fell and they'd have took him out, we might not be talking. But it does something to every single one of us. When we saw them fingers, we was like, oh, that's bad.
Well, the worst thing is, I can't remember if Eric or who said it on my show, but had the Dolphins not been undefeated at any one of those points, either against the Bills or on Thursday, it totally different outcome.
I don't know. And this is why I don't know. I said this, right? So you finished last season on a 7-game winning streak, right? And you come into this season. So let's say they'd have lost that game against the Ravens. They don't make that great comeback that they made. So they're 1-1 going against Buffalo. But you played tough against the Ravens. You made all these offseason acquisitions. You think you have what it takes. And you go down in a nail biter against Buffalo. No way in hell you don't come back in that game. You could have been 0-2 in that game. Because like I said, you 3-0, you want to keep it going. Well, now you 0-2, you want to right the ship. Athletes just are athletes, man. Like, they always want to play. And I don't want to make it sound like I'm absolving, but I think it just happens. And because we saw it on a Thursday night on a primetime game, right? It was the only game on TV, so we all saw it. It's like, whoa. If that had happened on Sunday at 1:00 where it was 8 other games going on, you just kind of heard about it later. You're like, oh, what happened? But we all saw it, and it looked really, really bad when we saw it. So it has to be a hot topic. But I honestly, it really happens.
And he's playing for his job.
Yeah. Which a lot of people feel like
Stephen Ross proved that when he got caught tampering for Tom Brady in the offseason.
Go ahead, Jarrell.
I got a question for all of y'all. Actually, I just want to know what y'all think about this. You right? They're in a win state right now. They are built to win right now. But this is a violent game. We all know that. But if with time, you advance in technology, advance with everything, just like we have advancement in growth and players are bigger and faster and stronger. If we have the ability to decrease CTE, because of course we don't know all that happened in the past, but if we have the ability to decrease it by stopping certain things or adjusting certain things like the whole concussion protocol, does that not help out the chances of decreasing players' illness? Because until somebody dies on that field, they're not going to get enough of dropping the ball in leadership as far as judgment calls based on win percentages or whatever to advance your stability on your team. If it's win now or whatever the case may be, until something strong happens, leadership is not going to make the right calls. And we're making calls, or they're making calls based on what I need to do to win. Like you said, if they didn't need to win, if they wasn't a win now, and they were like my man Craig said, if the record was different, Hoover wouldn't have won back then, right? My bad. I'm sorry, brother.
That's what he got on there.
Right, he going off of what his name is Dom, but he got nicknames for days, so it's all love.
Hey,
but it's very different. 3-0 is different from 1-2, right?
Yeah. So it's funny because I was going to mention this in my response. So ultimately, right, if you force my hand and say, Ray, pick somebody who's liable, it's the NFL. And here's why. If you're going to really, because they've done, I mean, you said, can we lessen the likelihood? They've tried that, right? Like all these rules that people claim they hate are in place to protect the players, right? That's why they're there, right? The head-to-head contact, the defenseless receiver, the hitting the quarterback, but like all of that stuff, right, is there to protect the players, right? But even still, violent game things are going to happen. What the NFL should do is hire 15 or 16 doctors that work for the NFL and don't work for the Miami Dolphins. They don't work for the Buffalo Bills. They don't work for whoever. They work for the NFL. And the reason I said 15 came about 15 games be going on at one time, right? In every single game that's going on in every single stadium, there should be a doctor on hand who works for the NFL. And your job is to be real. My job ain't for either team to win. My job is the interest of the players. If they really care, right? You get outside entities. You get outside entities who have no vested interest in either team, right? You have a doctor on call at every game that does the concussion protocol. No, you don't get to go on the 10 on your side of the field. You don't get to go on 10 on your side. You got to come back here to this neutral place, to this doctor that works for the NFL who doesn't have a vested interest to say, oh, yeah, okay. Because guess what? Them doctors that work for Miami.
We're talking the same language then. That's what I'm talking about.
You're right, Ray. You're right about the doctors, but it can't be the NFL that they work for. It needs to be the NFLPA.
Yes.
John gets it.
I'm with that. Like the best interest
because
of the
NFL has the ratings in mind, not the players in mind. They have that money in mind, but the NFLPA has the players in mind. So yeah, right. That's a great point by you guys.
So here's my last thing I want to ask y'all, because we know that eventually this investigation is going to get handled. Things are going to be continually looked at, and ultimately a decision is going to be made. So I'm going to put all of you in the hot seat, and I want all of you to tell me what should, not saying it's going to happen, what should the outcome of this investigation be? Anybody can chime in.
I'll jump out first because I'm not going to be long on this. I think if anybody becomes the sacrificial lamb in this, it will be the doctor. It will be the person who had the final say so and cleared him, right? Because, and then like I said, it happened on primetime, right? It happened on a Thursday night where it was the only game on it. Everybody saw it, to the point where now when they're showing that highlight, they cut it off before it shows his hands. But those of us that saw it in real time, it looked so bad. Like, the crazy thing was, when I saw it, I looked at my wife and I said, oh, he broke his hand. Because it was turned all kind of ways. I thought he fell and broke his, that's what I thought happened, right? But
it's like the Gordon Hayward injury.
Yeah, you saw him stiffen up and couldn't. It was like, oh man, like that's bad, and everybody saw it. So this is one of those things where heads have to roll. Like they can't just be like, oh, well, he was cleared, it was fine. Like I think the doctor becomes the sacrificial lamb in this. I really do. I think when it's all said and done, the person who okayed him and cleared him will go down, and somebody will pay him a lot of money on the back end, right? But I think that's what's going to happen, because who else can you really? You can't fire the quarterback. The coach,
you can't fire a head coach. You're not going to fire a head coach.
It'll boil down to it. They cleared him, right? That's what I think is going down.
Yeah, I completely agree. Whoever cleared him between Sunday and Thursday to come in between 4 days in between games when you already had a concussion, and something nobody talked about is the second concussion syndrome. None of us talked about that. I don't know if any of you know about that, but basically, if you get two concussions, and if you get a concussion and your brain does not heal, you can die. You don't necessarily die right then and there, but the boxer, forgive me from where he's from, I think it was like Brazil or something. He was fighting in a boxing match. He already had a concussion. He got his bell rung. The ref was like, he got him up. He started swinging at the air, and the ref was like, okay, I got to stop this. Like, the guy's just swinging at the air. He's not even going after the boxer. And the guy ended up dying like I think it was like a couple days or a couple weeks later from having a second concussion. His brain didn't get to heal in time from the first one. So like that's something we really didn't talk about. But anyway, I think it's the guy who cleared him in the middle of the week, because you should have known as a doctor, like should know better that if he already had one concussion, you can't go and play a couple days later because he has that risk for another one. So that's what I think.
Chuck?
Can't say it any better. I agree 100% with those guys. To me, it has to be the doctor. So for so many reasons, like Ray said, at the end of the day, as much as I love my Dolphins, we're not the greatest organization, and at the end of the day, there's going to have to be somebody, like he said, who's going to have to take the hit, and it's probably going to be the doctor.
Jarrell?
We're not too far off, all of us, from what we've been talking about all night. I'm with y'all. I like the sacrificial lamb being a doctor, but all that the NFL talks about and preaches with the CTE and all that stuff, they're gonna have to jump ahead of this for the media as well. So I'm gonna see. So I would like to see a lot of fines, some suspensions, and then probably a firing from the doctor. But it needs to be some suspensions and fines with the coaches after the investigation. And then fix how long you get into investigation too, because they could have jumped into the investigation without waiting to that Thursday game too.
That's when the investigation started. Last night was when it officially started.
Exactly. They could have
before the game. It wasn't like during the game. It was it was before the game even happened. But it was yesterday. They waited all the way until yesterday for whatever reason.
For the record, it wasn't because of it was put out after Sunday that the Dolphins were going to be under investigation.
Yeah, but it didn't start until yesterday. Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. They should have jumped ahead of that, but they didn't know. Who knew?
Which, considering they were playing, you would think somebody would have put that into express mode. But
yep.
Oh yeah, they should have expedited that. Dom, go ahead, man.
I think it ends up being the doctor, but since it's an investigation at this point, the league should do their due diligence and do a very deep dive on the background of this doctor, if he has any affiliation or anything whatsoever with Stephen Ross, because like he already proved it in the offseason. Tua is not his guy, to the point where he went and tampered. And the unfortunate thing is, John Madden said it best. You know what he said about NFL football? Play one down, your body will never be the same. It's a really unfortunate situation, but yeah, the doctor will be the fall guy.
Okay, so everybody is basically saying the medical staff, the doctor is going to be. Go ahead.
I have a question.
Hold on, I'm going to give you mine in a second.
All right,
go ahead, Ray.
Yeah.
I would also say that, and Jarrell touched on it. Shout out to him. And I finally saw it. He moved back in the city. That shirt is dope. Like, you need to go ahead and put the link out for the merch, bro. We support around here. Yes. One, I do think there will be fines levied by the league. They have to. The league will be in reaction mode. The same way we're talking about it, ESPN is talking about it, Fox is talking about it. Like, the league has to. Like, it's like their back is against the wall. There will be fines. I don't know. They'll probably just fine the organization a whole lot of money. I could see that. I could even see some hefty disciplinary action. Like, I don't know if they're going to draft it, whatever they're going to do. It'll be something unprecedented, right? But if we all look at this situation, if every single one of us with two eyes, right? Like, football is a weird sport. Like, in basketball, you got a head coach and then you got a couple assistants. But football, right? When you look at a football team, you have a head coach, you got an O coordinator, D coordinator, tight ends coach, quarterbacks coach, receivers coach, special teams, you got trainers, you got medical staff, GMs, owners, guys in the box, guys sending down play calls, guys watching film. Like, it's like not one person thought to themselves, that really don't look right. You know what I mean? Like from the top down, not one person was able to get to the head coach. And like you said, Johnny, you come right back in. So at halftime or whatever, nobody was able to go, hey, man, did y'all see what happened? Did y'all see what he looked like when he got hit? Did y'all see him when he got up? That ain't normal. Nobody in the whole organization, right? We as fans went, oh, that don't look bad. Like,
several people did. Don't
you know what happened? You remember any given Sunday when my man got hit and hurt? Man, put that boy back in. He all right.
And
Yeah,
that speaks that goes all the way back to my point about sports in general, right? Where athletes and even coaches and players do whatever they have to do. For a long time, it was a very common practice. Coaches knew what jokers was getting shots before games. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't remember what movie I saw that in. Like, but it's real, man. Like, jokers do whatever they got to do to get on that field, and the coaches be knowing. The coaches
Varsity
be knowing.
Blues.
So, yeah. So that's
what I think should happen. And again, I don't know if this is going to happen. What I think should happen is two things. Number one, I think to all of your points, the doctor should be fined or removed from the organization. But I also think Tua, for his own safety, should be suspended. A minimum of 4 games. John, you can look at me any sideways you want, but like 4 games. 4 games he should be suspended to take care of himself.
Suspended?
Yeah. Suspended.
You know what's
because
really
you know
sad?
what? Because you know what? No. Because you know what? At the end of the day, Chuck said it best. At the end of the day, you roll the dice. You take accountability for the decisions you make. We all have to do that. If I run outside naked and a cop pulls me over, guess what? Don't matter if I'm on my property or not. I shouldn't be out there running around butt ass naked. Cop gonna pull me over. I'm gonna get arrested because of a decision that I made. Don't matter if I'm drunk, high, sober, doesn't matter. Tua for his own good.
I ain't even gonna lie. I think that's so wild that I just like it. Like, I really do. Like, because like we've talked about it all night, every single one of us. Going back to my the boxer thing, right? Like, where athletes just they wild, man. Like, and again, when you go on that tent, you're kind of diagnosing yourself if you're not 100% honest. Like, I was in the Marine Corps. When you go to medical, they always ask you, what's your level of pain, right? They go to the sharp pain, dull pain. I'm like, I don't even know what that means. Like, is it on 1 to 10? They ask you, how hurt are you, right?
Radiating, non-radiating?
Yeah, they ask all these weird questions, right? It's another movie where they ask the player, are you hurt or are you injured? What's the difference, coach? Well, if you hurt, right, you can go back out there and play. If you injured, you can't, right? So players, right, they try to do their best to stay on that field. Like, I so love this. Chuck said earlier, Tua ultimately has to take accountability for his own actions. Hey, we talked about saving him from himself, like he said. Put it on him. It's so crazy that I like it. It is so crazy that I like it. It's weird. I know John and Chuck don't like it. They don't like it. They
talking
like,
about the Miami Dolphins.
That's the fan in me right there. Like, bro,
don't call it the suspension. Put him on the public for 4 games.
And how many of us played sports as kids? And we played football.
I played all the way. Listen, I played all the way till college.
And how many times did you get hit and like you were clearly injured, but you're like, nah, I ain't coming out, man. Like, you're bloody, you're hurting, but like you're like, I ain't coming out. Like,
God, John, real talk. We had a rule. If you was on, because I played football, I played basketball, I played baseball. We had a rule. Your hands never touched your knees. Because that indicated to the coach you were tired. You could have your hands like this, walking around huffing and puffing, but you stood up straight.
And my coach would make us run laps if we did that.
Right. My hands never touched my knees, man.
This was where those 15 guys that Ray talked about come into play. 16 guys. One guy at every game that works for the NFLPA. And that's the guy doing the concussion protocol questions.
Yes. And they need to be
more
than...
he has the final say.
And they need to be more than what day of the week it is, what game is it, what quarter is it, how much time is left, where are we at? No, I'm sorry.
By the way, I believe
because clearly you can answer those questions wrong and still go back into the game.
And I believe it was last night after the game. I believe it was Ryan Fitzpatrick told a story about how, I think earlier in his career, he clearly wasn't right, and he tried to go back out there. And one of his teammates pulled him aside and said, bro, you're not going back out. And he's like, yes, I am. And the guy was like, no, you're not. And like, he didn't get to go back out. And he said he was thankful. And that he considers that guy a brother because that guy saw that he wasn't right. And he pulled him from the game and said, you're not, like, I want you to play, but you're not going back out there. Like, you got to have guys like that just see it. And they're like, it doesn't matter what that score is. You don't look right. Go sit on the sideline. Like, you got to have guys like that on your team, no matter what.
I'm gonna tell you how crazy this is, man. And I hate this. Not I told you. It's a reality of what actually took place. You remember in our off-season talks about Tua, right? And I talked about why he is judged and criticized so harshly because he's in the same draft class as who?
Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow.
And what did Justin Herbert do just the week before?
Same thing.
You get what I'm saying? Like, this is how this domino effect stuff work, right? You're in the same draft class as this guy. They talking this about him. They talking that about him. Now you got your weapons. You saw what I just did to Baltimore last week? I showed y'all. It's a new sheriff, and I'm about to show y'all. And I'm hurt. Oh, no. No, I'm good. I'm good. Like, it's a crazy world we live, bro. Like, sports is a crazy thing. But, like, all that stuff factors into an athlete doing something super crazy that could jeopardize his health and his ability to eat long term. But in that moment,
those two quarterbacks were never comparable, and now you're still trying to compare them.
But he played almost that entire first half, obviously, last night. And if you watch his throws, a lot of them, he was just trying to go deep. Like, he was trying to do what he did against the Ravens. He was trying to replicate that. And clearly the Bengals weren't giving him that. They were playing safeties back. They picked him off once because they were playing safeties back. They were playing smart, not letting him have that. But he kept trying to go for that home run ball. Like, he was trying to do the Ravens thing again. And he wasn't taking, again, like I said, with the play he got hurt, wasn't taking what the defense gave him. You got angled 3 yards in front of you, wide open, nobody within a 50 million yard radius. Guys right in front of you. Do what Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady do. Just check it down. Check it down.
Hold on. Okay. John, look at you with this segue.
No, I'm just saying.
I know. While you were talking about that, I know. I'm with you. While you were talking about that, what ran through my mind was it took Mahomes a long time to learn that. Right? He was doing the same thing. Go look at the Chiefs early last year when everybody was going, oh, they're struggling. They're not the same team. When teams basically said, we're going to bracket Tyreek Hill, take him away, and you're going to have to take the underneath. And Mahomes was still forcing it down the field. It wasn't until late in the season. He said, okay, I'm going to take what y'all give me. And they start running through teams all over again. After that game against Baltimore and Tua got to experience it once, you could almost get like, man, listen, that's what it was going to be. We taking these big shots downfield. You know what I mean? So that's a learning curve for him to learn what to do with that kind of speed and then what to do when teams take that away. Because teams doing it with Jamar Chase too.
And I add
what's the really ironic and familiar narrative here? Tua's hurt again.
Can I add this point in? Because I thought this from the second he got hurt all the way until now. I thought about it all day at work. And nobody said it in the media. Here's somebody that could easily be blamed. You can blame Mike McDaniel, not because he shouldn't have put him out there. He should have put him out there. I thought about this. If you're Mike McDaniel and on Sunday you saw him get concussed, okay, I'm going to go to Ray. What would your game plan be going into Thursday night? If you know Tua's playing, what's your game plan?
It's going to be a run-heavy offense, and then when I do call him passing plays, we're going to get the ball out of his hands quick. We're going to
bingo. That's exactly what I thought.
We're not going to do 5 yard. We're not going to do 5-step drop backs. Looking for
7-step drop backs. You're bombing it deep with a guy that just got a concussion on Sunday, and we all know that he's not quite right going into Thursday. So what do? You can protect him by short passes, making sure you get the ball to the running backs, get the ball out quickly, so you have no chance of him taking another hit. That should have been the game plan. I thought that all day long. Why was that not the game plan?
No, it was. Why? It was, John. It was.
Clearly not.
No. I mean, it was a couple of drop back passes where he was definitely getting the ball out late on those bombs. And they said it on the announcement, but they were getting the ball out quick. That's been the game plan.
There never should have been any bombs, though. There never should be opportunities in that situation for him to get
He was getting the ball out very late.
Tried to keep going with what was working previously. And you can't say lean on the run when your lead back is Raheem Mostert.
Right, but when you got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and guys like that you can play the short game like we just talked about with Mahomes. Got to take that. You could play that game because you know that Tua's not getting hit at all if that's your game plan. All you got to do, and Chuck, you know this, you get that ball into Waddle's hands or Tyreek Hill's hands, the rest is up to them. They lead the league in yards after the catch. That's what they do best.
And you know why those are good points, and I do disagree with his statement about Moisture, because if you watch the game after he got hurt, Moisture went crazy.
Yep.
When they gave him the ball, and he was doing whatever he wanted to do, and what he's saying they should have done with Tua, they did Bridgewater, if he don't throw the interception, they did the same thing with Bridgewater. Tyreek Hill was getting the ball at will. 5-yard pass, I'm getting it. I'm getting 8. I'm getting it again. I'm getting 9. I'm getting it again.
Mostert always does that 3 games at a time.
I mean, it's fine, but what I'm saying is after he gets hurt, everything that he's saying is what happened after Tua got hurt. They was throwing the little 4-yard pass, getting 12. They was giving the ball to Mercer. He was getting 20-yard run.
Yep.
That's what was happening after
we
he
wouldn't
got hurt.
be talking about this injury.
Yeah, so I mean, that's what happened. If you watch the remainder of the game, all those things he just said is exactly what happened. He don't throw the interception, we might still win the game.
I will say this much, and I got ready to go because I told the wife I was only going to be an hour. 2 things. One, fans and media need to stop disrespecting Teddy Bridgewater like he hasn't stepped up in multiple situations in Minnesota and New Orleans. He wasn't even horrible last year in Denver. We need to stop acting like he's not a formidable quarterback. In fact, he came into the game on a 3rd and 16 and threw a strike. I was like, oh, did y'all see his first throw last night? It was a 3rd and 16. And he threw it 15, like it was like right short of the first down. But
right on the first down line, they screwed him. But
No, it was short, right?
Right. Can I ask you a question before you go to the wife?
What?
Do you really think me and John care about that?
No. Listen. But I'm saying, right?
I'm messing with you.
I got you, right? But I'm saying, as far as what he's done in his career, right? And then, fortunately, y'all are hitting a very soft spot in the schedule. Y'all started off. Y'all played. Yeah. Patriots, Ravens, Bills, Bengals, right? 3-1.
You need to beat. Yep.
Now y'all get Jets, Vikings, Steelers, Lions, Bears. Y'all could go 3-2 or 4-1 with Teddy Bridgewater against that.
By the way, Ray. The last game that TJ Watt is out is against the Dolphins. That's the last game he misses.
Good for y'all, right?
I'm just saying, like you said, soft part of the schedule. He's going to miss that game.
So I think people need to kind of put a little bit of respect on Teddy Bridgewater's name. We remember
Theodore Edmund Bridgewater.
You remember in New Orleans where Breeze got hurt? I remember going on shout out to Raphael. I went on 3-point conversion and we were talking about, man, Breeze is out. What does this mean? I was like, man, if they could just go 3-3, and they went like 5-1 with Bridgewater while he was out, right?
Oh no, sir.
What?
5-0.
5-0.
Whatever it was, right? Because I think he was supposed to be out 6 and he wound up not being. Point being, Bridgewater is a formidable quarterback, and he might look a whole lot better. Like no disrespect, but look how great Tua looked against him. We hadn't seen Tua play that level of football that he did against Baltimore. It's amazing what weapons can do for you, right? Like Tua looked like having those level of receivers is going to elevate your game a little bit. Bridgewater going to look like he looked good when he came in, right? So that part, I think that the organization should be really careful, right? Like, and you have the luxury of Teddy Bridgewater formidable. Last things before I go, shameless plug. Hey, shout out to Chuck, Jarrell, and Dom. E got some stuff going on, and we're gonna have I see Jay in the comments too. He pull it up on Sports Arena. Shameless plug every Monday and Wednesday night, 10 o'clock, Sports Arena on Facebook Live, YouTube, the whole 9. Jarrell, Chuck, Dom. I need to see Dom. You was just on there. Jarrell and Chuck, I need to see y'all back on the Sports Arena again, man. I love chopping it with y'all guys. I need mellow people on the show because I'm always too hyped. You can't get me and Avery in the same space, dog. It don't work. You know what I'm saying? Chuck always pretty mellow. Shout out. I ain't seen Jarrell in a minute, man. It's been almost a year. We was talking about OBJ last time, I remember, because I said he looked like it.
I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, and that's the thing. And matter of fact, not so shameless plug. So I don't want to overlook this. My whole premises was misvalue management on leadership with the Dolphins leadership. And I think Brandon Marshall's put it out there that they don't care about their players. So any teams watching college, high school, or professional, if you need ethics and decision making and making sure your leaders are in the right spot and your kids are transitioning to the right spot so they're on and off the field right, holler at me at Jarrell Hessel Sports Consultant. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, do me a favor. Say that again, man.
So my athletes, my administration, ethics and decision making helps with investing in your players and your management on and off the field. That's what I think is the biggest problem with the Dolphins organization in this incident right now. We're making that happen on a professional, college, and high school level. So holler at me, Jarrell Hessel Sports Consultant. Facebook, Instagram, IG, whatever. I'm here.
I love it.
I appreciate it, man.
I know
Go ahead,
y'all
sir.
probably gonna keep going.
No, actually, this is it. I was about to close it all out. I appreciate you. I just wanted to say thank you, gentlemen. I know this was a last minute come together, and I just want to say again, first off, now let me put everybody back on the screen together because I'm just gonna go around. First off, say it again every Tuesday night, 8:30. The most level-headed man on that show, Chuck. Keep them right, because Avery and James keep going at it. I don't know how much longer I can feel listening to James Harris, but it is always a blessing to be a part of one of the most entertaining shows that I've ever been a part of. Say it again. Tuesday nights, 8:30, Facebook, YouTube, the whole nine.
Hey,
He already
Eric,
spoke. Yes, sir.
on that note, I gotta pull up on Say What Say It Again because they just letting anybody come on the show now. That
I'm
character
waiting.
was on there last week, man. I'm not doing that with y'all no more, Chuck. And he on there just I see the system is against me. No, listen, man. I gotta pull up on Say What Say It Again very soon, bro. Y'all gonna see me very soon.
Expect to see a sports reporter without pay back there. He gonna be on there Tuesday nights. But no, real talk. Jarrell Heslett, man, this brother does so much work. Hey, man, make sure you drop the link for your merch. We can share that because we support Black-owned businesses, and I love what you're doing, man. Keep doing your thing. To my man Dom, yeah, he's on the Gauntlet. He's on Basket Bros. He's a part of Alex Fleming's NFL Carousel. He's also a part of Sip Off. I know he's probably been on Under Review with Jordan Long. What's up?
I have one question for John Shear.
Yeah.
Would you take Jared Goff for Teddy Bridgewater and a second-round pick?
Not a second-round pick. No, for straight up, sure.
Okay, that works even better for you. There you go.
You can have Teddy
third-round
plus.
pick.
I'll take Goff.
You say,
I mean, we already have the guy that I want. He's going to start over.
I'm trying to lower my cap number.
Okay, I got you.
I'm just
Anyhow,
mad,
make sure you check.
Make sure you tell Dom to represent where he's from, and I could have went this whole show without the Lions coming up. Don't do that, Dom. Dom. You already know. I hold it down.
313.
I'll hold it down.
And then, of course, the three gentlemen across the top, you know where you can catch us every Monday, every Wednesday night. It is the Sports Arena, 10 p.m. Eastern. Hey, man, again, gentlemen, thank you all for being a part of this conversation. I appreciate y'all. We going to see y'all. Everybody stay safe, stay blessed, and we will talk to y'all. Well, the three of us will talk to y'all on Monday. Peace.